Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Founders Chair podcast. Andy Goldberg here. Very delighted to have on the show today Matt Yates from Angelwax. Matt, welcome to the Founders Chair.
Andy, thank you very much for having me.
Why don't we just start, Matt, by if you could just tell us a little bit about you personally, where you're from, where you live, family, what you get up to when you're not working, just so we know who Matt is.
Who Matt is, wow. There we go. Well, the accent, don't let it fool you. I'm not from Scotland. I've lived in Scotland now for this year, it'll be 38 years, but originally from Blackburn in Lancashire, in the northwest of England. So I moved up when I was a kid because my dad, his job changed. So we all had to move up. And then we ended up settling on the west coast in a place called Largs. You've probably heard of it. And now I live just north of Largs in Inverkip, and I've been there for the past 20 years. Nice and quiet, peaceful.
It's lovely up there.
When I'm, it is when I'm not working. You know what? When I'm not working, free time is taken up with running after my 11-year-old boy, football matches, going out, walks, just trying to keep occupied at weekends. At night time during the week, there's not a lot of time for anything by the time you finish and get home. I do work quite late sometimes. So yeah, free time is it's a rare commodity for me, I'm afraid.
Sure. Okay, well, look, don't let my accent fool you. I'm not from Scotland either, but local business owners who are listening to this, we both live in Scotland. We both have Scottish-based businesses.
That's
Just
right.
happened to neither of us are Scottish. So tell us the story, Matt, about how your business came about, and also at what point you felt the confidence to do this on your own.
Well, I've always been into cars. I've been an absolute petrol head since I could walk. As soon as I saw my first Porsche, I was, what the hell is that? That looks amazing. And then as I got older, I just like cleaning them. My father always used to come home with a very, very dirty car. And then fast forwards, years later, after cleaning cars when I was a kid, I started working at a chemical factory in Glasgow, just north of the Glasgow city centre, near Mary Hill, and it was an adhesives company. And I always thought that it would be really good if they did some kind of car cleaning products. But they never did. They did lacquers and adhesives, and they did lots of other things. Now, one day I found a formulation in the lab, and it was for a product called T-Cut that most people have heard of. It's been around for decades. And I found the components in the lab store cupboard, and I actually made it. And I didn't do it quite right because I took the paint off my Ford Fiesta, but the thought was there, and that was when I was around 18.
Yeah.
So fast forward 20 years, and we're in 2006, 2007. And my father had set up sorry about that. My father had set up an inks business in 2000, and he had a chemist working with him who I knew from the adhesives company, John. And John was working with my dad, and I'd asked John if he could make something for the windscreen of my old car because the wipers kept stopping. So he made me a rain repellent for that. And then after he'd done that, we started looking at other things like, pushing him towards products and things. And very creative chemist, and he came up with all sorts of different products like a shampoo, a glass cleaner. And then one day somebody came in with bags of powders and asked if we could make a wax. Now, I wasn't working there at the time. I was just popping in to see my dad at his work. It was manufacturing inks and different products for the printing industry. So John and I started talking and started doing some products. And it was then we had about 4 or 5 in about 2008, 2007, 2008 maybe. And then I started going to 1 or 2 shows and just displaying what we had. And the labels were crude, they were awful. And we had just these 5 products, and we put them on a table and see what happened. And people bought them because back then there was only maybe a dozen brands in the UK. There wasn't that many. Now there are hundreds. Yeah. But in 2010, we actually thought this this has got something about it. We should really do something. So we did. We set up a company. We started doing it on a professional level, and that was 15 years ago this August. So that's kind of how we started. Just John and I bouncing off each other and trying to find, the best things. But the good thing about it was we didn't have any experience of making car cleaning chemicals, so we didn't have any bad habits. So what we used to pinch from my dad was chemicals and raw materials that we use for the manufacturing of printing inks and different surface coatings. Because whether you're coating paper or whether you're coating the paintwork of your car, you've just got to make it stick, and it's got to be durable, and it's not going to come off. Whereas I think 99% of manufacturers out there doing what we do, they don't come from our background. They don't have the experience that we've got, which is a completely different experience. Definitely.
So tell
Yeah.
us
So
about
that's how we started.
okay, so 15 years ago. Tell me
Yep.
about your company now, where are you at, size of the business and the products that you offer.
Well, we started off in a very small unit in Renfrew, and the size of the business now, yeah, it started with John, myself, and my father. He just let us get on with it, but he's also a director of the business because, I mean, he has to be. We stole all his chemicals, so he's got to get something out of it, right? So yeah, there were three of us involved, but now there are 14 of us. So we've grown, but we've not grown to a huge level because we have the right amount of people to do the jobs that we need to, and we can cope with the volume of orders that we get now. So that's the size of us just now. We're in a different facility from when we started. We've moved out to Glasgow Airport on the Inchinnan Road. We have a huge yard, and we've got about 16 and a half, 17,000 square foot of space combined with obviously with reception area, kitchen, changing rooms, with a shop, a trade shop where the public can come in as well, and with warehouse, with manufacturing areas, and with a separate manufacturing area for solvent-based products. We have to keep that separate with a lab as well. So it's all encompassed in the one building, and we've a gated yard as well, which is priceless for us. We need that because we're storing chemicals outside as well.
Sure. Okay. And so just back to the journey of being a business owner and the
Yeah.
entrepreneurial side of things. Who has, have you had people maybe on the outside that have inspired you or been a role model to you that you've kind of looked at and duplicated what they did, or felt you needed to impress them in some way? Like who's super
No,
inspired?
maybe I should have done that, and then you know things might have worked out differently. But we just found our own way. We just did our own thing. Um, I mean, my dad was always there in the beginning when we were starting up. He was there as a good support, and when John and I were stuck, we'd bounce things off him, and between the three of us, we'd come up with a solution, to whatever problem we were facing. But we just muddled on through ourselves. We would look at other companies, but I wouldn't say be inspired by them, but maybe pinch a few ideas. I don't know if you call that
Yeah.
inspiration.
Well, it is, but it's learning from them.
Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Um,
Definitely.
why reinvent the wheel, and when other people have been successful and you can
Yeah.
model what they did. What would say has been your biggest learning as a business owner over the last 15 years?
Oh, take nothing for granted in business. That's for sure. Um,
Tell me more about that. What do you mean?
um, it's we kind of we grew really fast, and it kind of you blink, and all of a sudden you've got six or seven more employees, and you have to employ somebody for example, to do the health and safety.
Hmm.
And I never envisaged us becoming as big as we are today. I mean, we've got distributors all over the world. We've got people that use our products in, just all over the place. And we never. This was always just something messing about, just us playing with like a chemistry set, and it's just kind of it's grown arms and legs. If I'm honest with you, um, that's probably the biggest learning was the shock of it all as just growing, because if you do stick at it and you put everything into it and you do the late nights, if you're focused enough, you will get to where you need to be. But we're not even there yet.
So you went from, like, quite young, having a passion and creating
Yeah.
what some people might call a lifestyle business, but it's not really that, but it's playing with the chemistry set, right? So, and then the
Yeah.
next thing you know, you've got responsibility. You've got responsibility for other people who have families,
Yes. That's
and
the scary thing.
yeah,
That's
yeah,
the scary thing. Now we've got a husband and wife team out in the warehouse. Jason does manufacturing. His wife Pauline, she works in the warehouse carrying out different tasks. We have a good solid team out there, and you do feel responsible for everybody.
sure.
You do want to make sure that you bring the business in so that they're keeping busy all the time, and then you've got you're building your customer base. You're bringing the revenue in so that you can keep the lights on. Um,
Yeah. So you need to change your thinking a little bit, don't you, when you blink and suddenly realize you own a business that has employees that you're responsible for, right? So you can no
yes,
longer just come in and play with your chemistry set. You've got to think about serious serious stuff here, the future.
yeah, because when it first started, I mean, John was coming up with all the formulations as he always does. Um, and I would, for example, go into a little tiny cupboard that was about 2 foot by 4 foot, and I would go in there and pour a load of waxes for a client and get them all ready while John was doing other things. And then maybe Jason, who's been with us for years, he would be manufacturing some of the products in a different building. So we had all these little units in Renfrew, and one would be for warehousing, one would be manufacturing, one would be for filling up and store, and a little shop as well. We were just, everything was hand to mouth at the time. And yeah, I found myself, I'd be speaking to customers one minute, going out to see them, and then I'd be pouring all the waxes. Whereas now they don't want me involved down there at all. They tell me to
Get
stay
out
out
of
of the
the
way.
yeah,
Yeah, get out of the way. Go back to your office.
yeah.
Yeah.
And that's tough for, I mean, I talked to a lot of business owners, and that's sometimes the biggest challenge is business owners are addicted to the work of the business because
Yeah.
you created it. It's, oftentimes it's their passion or their hobby, or it was, and it's hard to step back and let other people do what you used to love.
That was one of the biggest challenges for me, was letting go of things. For example, um, I still design the labels. I have a designer, but I always write the content for the labels. I send everything to her. She puts it all out on Illustrator and gets it ready and sends it off for print. So we know it's absolutely spot on. I don't trust myself with Illustrator. That's not me. That's just a waste of my time. But the content for the labels, I still come up with the names. I run the names by everybody to make sure we're all happy. But yeah, I create the names. I write all the contents. I've only recently found that I can actually create safety data sheets as well using software. So that's another big learning tick in the box for me this year, is making safety data sheets. It's something we've always struggled with, especially with new software that's always been updated and gets overly complicated. And it is an overly complicated process registering safety data sheets, not only in the UK but in Europe with the European Chemical Association. It's crazy the hoops you have to go through just to get your products out there.
What would you say has been your biggest challenge over the years, and how did you work through it?
We're still working through one called Brexit. Most of our business is European, and as soon as Brexit hit us, that was. I'll be careful what I say here, because I don't want to call the people that voted for it stupid, because they have their own reasons. But it was very narrow-minded. I think a lot of people thought immigration would stop if we voted for leaving the European Union, but all it did was it made mobile charges rocket when you go abroad. because we're now disconnected from the places where people want to travel to for the holidays. Now all of a sudden their bills have gone straight back up again. Shipping to Europe, for example, there's a lot of paperwork involved now, and the prices for some reason overnight have shot through the roof. So our customers pay for their own shipping, and when they're ordering 2 or 3 pallets of products, their shipping costs can treble, sometimes quadruple, and that's all come on since Brexit. That was the one that we're still dealing with. But I'd say the biggest challenge for me personally, and I suppose as a business as well, was moving premises. The building that we moved into wasn't ready at all. It was overgrown with everything at the front. The windows were falling out, and I could see the outcome for the building. I could visualize it, but it was a million miles away. So I think it was Feb 21. We got the keys, and I moved in on my own. And the staff joined me in November 21. So I was here all that time getting it ready for them, just ripping things out. I was basically clerk of works for the best part of a year, just making sure it was fit for them. Because at the old place, people would get changed in the warehouse. It was very Victorian.
Yeah.
There were no rooms. There was nowhere to go. Um, we just had to, get changed in the freezing cold warehouse winter, where it's only a few degrees. And it was challenging times. Now they've got heating, although not this week because the boiler's on the blink. So we've got everything here. They've got changing rooms, they've got showers, they've got a nice kitchen, things that loads of businesses take for granted. We never had before. So in the past 4 years, we've moved into a building and we've improved it, and we're still improving it now.
Great. So what's the next big thing for you in your business? What are you focusing on the next 1 to 3 years? More growth? Do you see further challenges coming down the road? What do the next 1 to 3 years look like for you?
Well, there are lots of things on the horizon, but until they actually drop into place, then to me they're just not happening. So when things start to work, when certain business comes in, then we'll celebrate. But until then, I'm not going to talk about those. Those are on a back burner. But yeah, it's to grow the business. It's to push the Angelwax brand. But we also have a white label part of the business as well, where we have companies like ours that want their own brand of car cleaning products. They will approach us, and they will they'll want their own things. They'll want their own blends of wax, ceramic coatings, car shampoos, different cleaning products, and we will tailor make those products for them. We'll bottle in-house, we can label in-house, we do everything for them, or we can send it out in 1,000 litre tanks. So it doesn't really matter on that one what they want, but we can do it here and we can cope with that. We also manufacture coatings and cleaners for likes of the rail industry and the aviation industry as well. So we do dry wash polishes and ceramic coatings and things like that. So we are pushing that side of it as well. So the next 1 to 3 years is to keep building the white label business as well as push the Angelwax brand. And just keep moving on. And forever we're being challenged with social media. There's so many different platforms now that we know we need to get into. For example, today we have a marketing meeting and it's all about the marketing calendar for this year. And we want to talk about starting up a TikTok shop because lots of businesses now run a TikTok shop. So yeah, we want to get into that as well. There are so many things planned for the next 1 to 3 years.
Fantastic.
So many different things.
Well, we're going to watch with interest and see what happens.
Yeah, me too.
Can't wait to find out, can you?
No, it's going to be interesting. It'd be good to fast forward 3 years to find out where you are. And
if only we could, huh? But
yeah,
I guess technology and everything's moving so fast, and the use of AI in marketing and social media and video content now is, it is hard to keep up. With it, but keep up with it we must.
Yes.
So interesting to see. So final question, Matt, what advice do you have for business owners who are just starting out on their own or who are thinking about going out on their own? What would be your number one piece of advice?
It's you have to be brave. You have to know your marketplace. I wouldn't advise anybody to do something they weren't experienced in doing. So if you are going to go out on your own, make sure you know your industry, you know your clients, you have them waiting for you. I would do all the groundwork before you take the plunge. Um, yes, definitely.
That is good
We,
advice. Do your homework.
yes, definitely do your homework.
Do
And
your research.
As Alan Sugar says, stick to what you know. Don't go diving into things you know absolutely nothing about. Just do your
Sage advice.
homework.
Sage advice indeed. Matt Yates from Angelwax. It's been an absolute pleasure speaking with you today. Thanks so much for being on the Founders Chair podcast.
Thanks for having me, Andy. It's been great.
Yeah, I've really enjoyed the chat, and thanks very much to all our listeners as always. We look forward to seeing you on the Founders Chair podcast again real soon. Thanks again, Matt.
Thank you. Bye.